I wanted to know who is the real Gerard Batten, leader of UKIP. So I went to meet him at Westminster.
Gerard! Hello!
Hello, Katie.
Nice to
Hello.
see
See you again.
Thank you for meeting me. We seem to have pulled in maybe some of the local weirdos.
This is what care in the community has done to us.
Well, I think they're Welsh. I think that explains probably.
So's my
quite
press
a-
officer. You can't tar them all with the same brush, Katie.
No, true.
We got talking about exactly where UKIP is at right now.
You've
And I
added
think,
membership.
with all due modesty, people join because they trust me and what I say and what I
There's
stand
an
for.
integrity thing to you, isn't there?
Well-
There's this sort of authentic thing. I get it. I get it from people, from listening, from being in the street, from hearing people talk about you. They may criticise elements, we can talk about that. But there's this authentic Gerard thing that you have.
Well, I always say what I believe and stand for what I believe. I'm not saying I'm infallible, I'll get it wrong sometimes, I'm sure, but I've thought things out over a long period of time. It would be difficult to dig up anything I've said in the last 15 years as an MEP that I would now disagree with.
Yes, of
Because
course.
I kind of think things out and stick to them.
Isn't there also this thing, though, that you saved UKIP from itself? That's my assessment. You made it financially viable. You reboosted the membership that was at an all-time low. You turned it round to it was scoring 656%.
We went up to 11
points.
just before the Brexit Party appeared on the scene.
And then I feel like you created this, you stabilised the ship, only then for the ship to be plundered. That's how I feel right now.
So the only poll that matters is the one at the ballot box, and that's not till the 23rd of May, and there's still another 5 weeks between them, and that's a long time in politics. Now, I think when we're sitting down in a nice, warm, comfortable place, you can ask me a bit more about what I think is going on at the moment.
Let's do that.
As is normal on these occasions, Gerard and I were heckled by strange people dressed in hats and flags, mostly coming from Wales.
Do you know
the fascist party?
I filmed this. This moron is calling us fascists because we stand up for. We want to be run by our own government, in our own parliament, under our own laws and traditions, and then they call you a fascist. I mean, the world is gone mad. You know?
It has. And I think the thing is, the labels they use so often, so they'll say fascist, they'll say racist.
And they've got to think of something new.
But the thing is, those labels have become so meaningless.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I think they must even be wondering, what are they doing? You know, they have got to be asking themselves, what are they doing?
I think when you're deluded, you stop worrying, don't you? You don't question yourself.
I don't know. I just think they must think to themselves, at some point today, they must think, why are we stood like pillocks on the pavement with these flags, dressed as flags? Like, they must be wondering that.
Oh, there he comes.
Are you going to keep shouting from there?
Hello there. I hear you're running, are you? I hear you're running. Are you running for... Well, I think that'd be great. I think you'd be fantastic in the European Parliament. Absolutely marvellous. You won't need that because they've got microphones. Pardon?
Is it fascist to vote for Brexit? Is it fascist that you vote that 17.4 million people voted for Brexit? Is that fascist? Is that what you're calling it? You're just calling Batten a fascist.
A young lad passing by recognised Gerard and wanted to tell him why he thinks the Brexit Party is doing better than UKIP.
I'd say I'm actually only 17, but I'm in support of Brexit, which is kind of uncommon.
Yes, that's a brave thing.
It's not as uncommon as you think, actually. There's lots of young kids who are in favour of it.
I feel like certainly the growing opinion is the longer this drags out, the more people just want it to be done essentially and get it done properly.
And as a 17-year-old who's also a supporter of Brexit or some version of leaving, where do you think people sit between voting for UKIP or voting for the new, shiny Brexit Party?
Nigel Farage.
And why is that?
Personality politics, and it's a growing thing, particularly 50 years ago, 30 years ago, it didn't used to be such a big thing. I think Margaret Thatcher probably would have changed that. Since then it's been about the person. That was Tony Blair and John Major. Wasn't it? So.
And you've got a comedian elected in the Ukraine. Whereas what we do, we elect people and then find out they're comedians. They've cut out that long process. They've cut out that whole process.
I appreciate your time. I hope you have a really good day, and thanks for stopping to talk to us.
Police were out in force today because of the Extinction Rebellion. They weren't just here for Gerard and I, promise. Sometimes it feels like everybody's protesting. Whether you're a random guy in a hat and a flag protesting because you want to remain, or you're a young person who feels like we're destroying the planet, everybody's out to protest something for clicks on Twitter. Gerard and I had to battle our way through Parliament Square just to get clear of this bunch of people who seem to have everything apart from a job.
We have two options as far as I can see, and one is that we are in charge of our own destiny.
That's why we want to leave the EU.
As a planet, as humans and as a planet, we are in control of our destiny. The other one is that climate breakdown.
Can I ask you a question,
Please.
just to interrupt the constant monologue of you talking?
Please.
There's this perception I have where I live, and it's a place called the rest of the UK, that climate protesters are massively overprivileged and kind of posh kids, and you seem to be falling straight into that for me.
Okay.
So can you explain to me why it is that it seems to be almost a luxury of the privileged that live in London to dictate to the rest of us what we should and shouldn't be allowed to do?
We're not dictating to anyone. We're speaking
it
about
feels
the science.
that way. No, I'm just asking you about this idea of privilege. So like your hero and pin-up, Greta, is actually a very privileged individual with privileged parents. It sounds to me, are a privileged individual.
I've noticed a lot of...
Can I just check where you went to school?
No,
Can I ask where you went to school?
Absolutely not.
Did you go to a nice boarding school?
Does it matter?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Does it matter
you've been
in a way?
asking Gerard a lot of questions,
Okay,
and I've
does
only
my
asked you
background matter?
one. Yes, I've
Okay,
only
so
asked you
let's
one
say that-
question.
let's say I
I just
fall
want
into a
one
different
answer. Just before we move forward,
Okay.
I just want one answer to one question. And I'm just asking,
I'm
where
not
is it you
answering
went
it,
to
'cause I don't
school?
think it's
So one
relevant.
question, Gerard's
I
just
just
answered.
genuinely don't think it's relevant.
Gerard has just answered 15 of your
about
questions
climate
very
change and about
politely.
ecological collapse. You're trying to
He's
bring my
so-
background into
You're
this.
stalking us in the pavement with your
Okay, I'll
plastic
go off
wrapped
then in a
flowers.
minute, but
my
I just
little
don't want to
posh
leave on a
friend.
bad note like this.
Yes, no, well then answer my one question. Where did you go to school, my little posh friend?
Sorry, this
Just
is
one
not-
question. No, just one question. It's all I've asked. Gerard's answered 15. I'm just asking for one question whilst you hold your plastic wrapped flowers. Oh, now your cameraman's
I went
joining
to
in. Anyone
school.
got an
I went to
answer?
school.
What colour's your underwear? I don't give a fuck.
I don't have any underwear.
Yeah.
I don't wear pants. I don't wear pants. I can show you that too if you like.
That's irrelevant.
Really
I'm
want to
just
see that?
no. Does he
This
need
is
your
just
help?
like-
He
okay,
needs
can I
your
ask a
help.
quick question?
2 boys against 1 girl. Is that how this
have
works?
a day off. I think
Is
we're
that how
going
it
to have
works?
to
You need
leave
to-
anyway.
Oh
We're
my
about to
gosh,
reach
you're
the
gonna
police
have to
barrier in a
stop
second,
filming.
so...
You're aware that we're talking about climate change.
Do you want to see my underwear? You
I
asked
think-
to
I
see
think
my
you're-
We're talking
underwear.
about climate change.
I think
you
you're,
asked to
I think
see my
you're
underwear.
cult
What do you
followers.
think about climate
Cult
I'm just
followers.
asking
I'm in
when
the middle of a
like I
climate
said when you asked
emergency.
that
You're worried
question-
about where I
Still
went to
haven't got the
school.
school.
Are you re-smogging me? Have a day
Still
off.
haven't got your school.
I can't carry on.
Why does my school matter? Would you want my A-level results? At least I got some.
I wanted to ask Gerard a bit more about exactly what's going on with the Brexit Party.
Now, the Brexit Party isn't a party. It's a registered name with the Electoral Commission, so that makes it a party. But it's got a leader, okay, but it doesn't have a governing body and a National Executive Committee. It doesn't have members who have a vote on who the leader is. It doesn't have policies, it has no manifesto. And it is exactly what Nigel always wanted, which is a one-man band. You know, I'm not giving any secrets away to say that he used to admire Geert Wilders. He said, Geert Wilders got this party, it's only him, he doesn't have any members, they're all subscribers and he chooses the lists and he can get rid of them. And that's precisely what he wants, a one-man band. He's an autocrat. And that's the reason he walked away from UKIP, I think, is he got fed up with dealing with the Democratic Party, because it can be difficult sometimes, you know, any leader will admit. But that's the reason he walked away from UKIP. He thought UKIP was going to collapse back in February, March 2018. It didn't. I believe that what was in the back of his mind was, well, there's an outside chance that there might be European elections. If there is, I don't want to be running with UKIP. I want my own new party where I'm in control 100% of everything.
There must be a bit of you, surely, that's just a bit like, well, this is a bit crap.
Politics is never fair, it's always unfair, so there's no point in getting upset about that. But the way I'm looking at it is, I've never seen an election like this before. Now, this is about my 14th or 15th election of one kind or another that I've taken part in. In every other election before, you've got your opponents against you, the other political parties, and UKIP's usually got the mainstream media against it. This is unique in that we've got another party going for the same votes that we are, who are backed up by the mainstream media that isn't Labour, Tory or Lib Dem, and that is fairly unique. Now, that's a very, very difficult battle to fight. But that doesn't mean to say we're not going to fight it, because we are, and we're trying to go over the heads of the mainstream media and whatever to appeal to those ordinary voters out there who don't just want to vote to leave the European Union, but want something more afterwards. Because this is, you know, I think politics all around the world, in every country now, is manipulated. It's a mixture of big money, big business, politicians and the mainstream media.
What then enables you to keep going? How come you haven't thrown all your toys out the pram and said, sod this, I'm off? Why are you still here?
Well, I got into this for a reason, which is, I came into politics late. I was 38, and I was sitting there. I said to my wife, "You better buy me a rubber brick so that I can throw it at the TV," because this was when the Maastricht Treaty was going, the Treaty of the European Union. I thought, I can't keep complaining. I've got to do something. And here I am, 27 years later, now leading this party. And the last thing I'm going to do now is actually walk away from it. We're going to fight this out until the 23rd of May, and it's in the hands of the voters. They're the ones that decide whether they want UKIP to have a future or not, and whether they want the things that I'm talking about and the party's talking about to be spoken about afterwards. Because I can guarantee you, if there's a massive victory for the Brexit Party, it's about getting Nigel back in the limelight, getting him back on the gravy train, and his little clique of acolytes there. And the things that I've been talking about won't be spoken about by them, I can guarantee you that.
I asked Gerard whether his relationship with Tommy Robinson had been a bit of a mistake.
Personally speaking, and this is just me, I think Tommy Robinson was a massive distraction from UKIP. And I think it's been really unfortunate that, as much as I can sort of separate those two things out in the same way that I hear you're doing, my support for Tommy Robinson being thrown inside and prison will kill him, I believe too, if he goes back inside. But that being entirely separate, I think that should have been Gerard Batten the person as opposed to Gerard Batten the leader. And for us, I think I thought that overlapped. He became this sort of UKIP talisman.
You may be right. Maybe this is something I've done which is going to be used. It is being used against me all the time.
It doesn't mean that I'm right or you're wrong.
Whatever happens in the future, in 5-10 years' time, I will know I did morally the right thing
by standing by him
and not just walking away and letting the dogs. The media and the establishment in this country are like a pack of wild dogs, and they will do this and destroy anybody if they can. So, okay, perhaps I made a mistake. Only time will tell on that. But I did, in my view, the morally right thing. And even now, when I think about it, I think I really did the right thing for the right reasons.
The morally right thing, supporting Tommy, calling out the establishment for trying, I believe, to politically persecute someone, absolutely right. I think just the overlap with it being UKIP then confused that. But then where do you stand on UKIP going forward with your relationship with Tommy Robinson? And would there ever have been a time where you would have been willing to make a very clear differentiation or a distinction between UKIP and this perceived association with Tommy Robinson, if it could have retained support?
Having done something, I wouldn't then renege on that decision, because that would be seen for what it is. And I haven't wanted to do that. What I would have liked him to done is, he's had a few other incidents which have made it difficult from a PR point of view. But we have to see what happens in the future and what he's going to do in these European elections, for example, which are coming along. And that's a thing for the future. I've got the most important thing on my agenda at the moment is the European elections. But I think there's a lot of people out there. You see, this is what I've got to do. I can't be defeated or cowed by what's going on in the mainstream media and the establishment. I've got to think, what is the right thing for me to do into the relation to the people that I'm trying to do it for? And they will decide on the 23rd of May whether there's enough of them that agree with me and vote for me to support me. If they're not prepared to support me, well, they need somebody else.
And I think that's one of the challenges, is that what if I am prepared to support you, but I'm not a Tommy Robinson supporter, and the media have made me believe that you and him are the same
Well, that's
thing.
the problem, and I would say to everybody, well, do you know how many people... I go to meetings around the country and we'll get a few hundred people in the room, and I say, can I ask you a question? How many of you now watch much less media than you did at the time of the referendum, or don't read newspapers at all? 90-odd% of the hands go up. People are not taking their point of view now from the mainstream media. And the point I make time and time again when I'm asked this on the mainstream media programmes, he's not a member of the party. He can't run as a candidate. There will be a vote on his membership if and when he ever applies to be a member, and that will be in the next leader's term, whoever the next leader is.
I wanted to find out where Gerard's at with his relationship with Nigel Farage.
What could Farage have done? You're saying if he had sat you down at some point and said, listen, Gerard, I want to run, I want to lead this, you come in with me and we'll sort this out together.
He could have come to me any time in the last year, and when the part, and he's seen the party picking up and men's coming in, money
You
coming
sorting
in.
out the bills,
Now,
you sorting out the finances.
yeah, he could have
you
come.
sorting out the membership.
In fact, he didn't even have to come to me. He could have said, "Well, you know, Gerard's doing a great job.
Sent
He's
a person.
rebuilding the party. But you know, we're going into there's going to be a European election, I fear, and we really need to win it. And so I'd really like to invite Gerard to stand aside. Let me be the leader. He can be the Brexit spokesman." Then I would have had to think, well, what do I think is going to happen if there is a European election? I would have actually had to seriously consider that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, well, you might have done it.
I might have done it. I would have seriously considered it.
Yeah,
Because
but it just never happened.
No.
Have you ever been tempted to ring him up and go, Nigel, don't be a pillock. Why don't we just
No,
do this
because
together?
we didn't
Or
have
maybe
that.
without the
We
pillock thing?
didn't have that kind of relationship anyway. I mean,
When my first
Unfortunately.
husband, there's been many. When my first husband left me, I rang up the girlfriend that he ran off with to ask if I could have my husband back. That's the level of, what would you say?
Dolly Parton could write a song about that.
But what I'm trying to say is that's really debasing as a wife. Is there any sense that one of you two could have just done the ultimately horrific? I mean, I remember it now. I can feel myself feeling ill. It was horrific. Could you guys not have done something like that?
Well, I think it was his place to ring me. When I'm sitting in an office and travelling around the country, desperately trying to save this thing from going down the toilet pan and getting bills for 175,000 quid and racking my brains how we're going to keep the thing on the road, I think it was more of a case of him ringing me up and saying, well, you've done a good job. Now we've got to think about what's coming down the road. Because, you know, my assistant, when we had the referendum on the 23rd of June, 2016, I came back into the office on the 24th, sat down at the desk, and she said, why are you looking so bloody miserable? You've just won a fantastic victory. And I said, because I know it's going to be betrayed. And here we are sitting nearly 3 years later, and it's been betrayed. And that is a tremendous struggle now to oppose this. And I often think this, and I'm the man leading the opposition to try and turn this around. I think.
Do you wake up in the morning in your gym jams and go, holy crap, I'm the leader of a
What makes you think I'll wear
party?"
gym jams?
I really want you to wear stripy gym jams. Please tell me you wear stripy gym jams.
That will have to remain
Okay,
a secret
but I really
between
want
me
you
and
to.
my wife.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to pry. I didn't say I wouldn't pry, but I just want you to wear gym jams, like those really long ones with a hat with a thing on the end.
A tassel.
Yeah, just saying.
Well, I might now. Now you put the idea in my mind.
Many of you sent questions for Gerard Batten under the hashtag AskGerard. Here's his answers.
Would it be possible for the for UKIP not to stand in areas where the Brexit Party is standing?
That means everywhere except Northern Ireland, because I believe they're not standing in Northern Ireland. UKIP is standing in all of the 12 regions of the UK, which is Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and the 9 regions of the UK. So where am I not supposed to stand? Everywhere? It just doesn't work.
Ask him, why couldn't you and Farage work together?
Well, that was his decision, because we did over those years, all of those years in UKIP, where we were part of the same party working for the same thing. He's the one that decided to walk off, not me. I've been, as I've said already in my answers, got UKIP back on track to the point where we can fight these elections, and then he starts up a new party. How long ago is it? 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Not that long ago that the whole thing was announced. And suddenly I'm supposed to stand down because of that, and all my 30,000 members are supposed to accept that they don't go into battle. I don't think so.
When you go to a drink, I can't read. When you go to the pub for a drink, what's your favourite tipple?
Well, it depends, you see, because I'm putting on a lot of weight. Normally I used to drink lager.
Normally I used to have a pint of Baileys.
Gin and tonic sometimes, which is not as fattening, is it? I don't know, so I'm told.
Do you have slimline tonic? That's what vegans have.
No, not really.
Don't do what vegans do. It's terrible. 3 top substantial differences between UKIP and the Brexit Party outside, this is good, outside of their stances on Europe. I can almost answer this.
We have got a proper constitution with a governing body, members who have a vote, and we have a manifesto.
You actually have a manifesto?
We've always had a manifesto, and it gets updated at election time and in between sometimes.
Okay, when is he going to fold? This is not how I wanted to end this, so I'm going to find a different one. When is he going to fold UKIP and work under the Brexit Party?
Never. The universe will not last long enough. I belong to a real party, not a party of celebrity, has-been
Look
Tories.
at me when you said that.
So let me rephrase that one. No. I want to belong to a real political party, not a party made up of all of these has-been Tories. They're all ex-Tories. They love the Tory party, but they know it's crap and it doesn't stand for anything they believe in, so they have to go off and take over something else and make that into an alternative Tory party. I'm not interested in that. I've never been interested in that. I never was a Tory, was never a member of the Labour Party either, and I've always wanted to belong to a political party that represents the broad mass of British people with patriotic policies that actually make sense to them.
I wanted to challenge Gerard specifically about Count Dankula and Sargon of Akkad.
We would select them on the basis of their loyalty to the party, their record, what have they done. But also I made provision that for people who can get us a bit more coverage in the social media. So that's why Carl Benjamin is on there, it's why Mark Meehan, Count Dankula is on there, because they have...
He's taught his dog to do a Nazi salute.
Yeah, but he's got... Yes, but
I'm just going to say, you've got to call you out. If you go, bloody Anne Whitaker, rah, rah, what's she ever done for politics, apart from 50 years in the Tory party, and you've got a guy who taught his dog to do a Nazi salute.
Well, he did a bit more than that. He's actually quite a very good comedian, if you have heard him.
He's MEP candidate.
Well, no, but he's not top of the list. He's not top of the list.
He shouldn't have been imprisoned for teaching his dog to do a Nazi salute.
Well, it's just part of his satirical approach to life. Now, him and Carl are free speech campaigners.
I know, but you're not a free speech campaigner,
yes,
you're a political leader, Gerard.
Yes, but the free speech thing is very important, because Dankula's been arrested and given a criminal conviction for something that would have been a criminal conviction in Nazi Germany.
We've all been arrested,
for the same
Gerard.
thing.
It doesn't mean we're good MEP candidates, as I have proven in the past. Okay, fine. All I'm saying is you can't really attack the other side for engaging with stars when you've got some
Well, I've done it for a
punter.
reason, not just because they're known, because they have...
Because they've got good beards.
Carl,
do you have to have a beard?
Yeah, you wouldn't make it, I'm afraid.
I'm growing one.
I jumped in a taxi with Gerard to find out a bit more about the man behind the leadership of UKIP.
Where do you find loyalty and are reassured by loyalty? And I've got a couple examples that I can think of around you of loyalty that I see, people that really have stayed with you.
I think it comes from, not always, but it comes from the people who don't get any material gain out of what they do. We've got loads of people, activists and members who've been with us for years, have got nothing out of it, which is why I feel so strongly about the people who have got something out of it and then have no loyalty to them, the people that...
So you mean people that, so grassroots campaigners who have got people elected, they've stuck around and have stayed loyal, but people that they have got elected into maybe good positions or financial positions or pensions or whatever, they've just jumped ship. Yeah,
it's like we had, when I was on Sky the other day, they didn't show this part of the interview, I'm sure, but they said, you've had 3 ladies walk away as MEPs.
Oh, the Margot something.
Margot Parker, Jill Seymour and Jane Collins. And they walked away because of what Sargon said, this terrible remark.
They were actively targeted before they walked away.
But I know, but what they don't know is that up until the week before, those 3 ladies thought that they were going to be top of the list. Yeah. 2 of them had given us £1,000 donation to our campaign.
2 of the candidates that would have thought they were going to be top of the list gave you
£1,000 each.
A week before they jumped.
Yep. And then on the Friday they found out that they hadn't been accepted as candidates on the Thursday. On the list. They're not on the list. And then suddenly they walk and they're saying these things about me.
So until the point where they weren't, when they thought they were going to be selected, it was fine. Yeah. When they found out they weren't on the MEP snouts in the trough gravy train, then they were suddenly had a point of principle. They were suddenly principled women who had definite thoughts.
And it wasn't my decision, it was a joint decision of the NEC panel who decided that they hadn't fulfilled their obligations to the party that they agreed to do in 2013. So I won't go into details on that. No. They just thought that they hadn't done it, so they weren't going to be on the list. Now, if they had been top of that list,
they would have
been at that press conference smiling and telling people to vote UKIP.
And what's going to happen with you? Because you're supposed to have been a year, and that's now run over because of the local elections, then it will run over because of the European elections that we're not supposed to be part of. If people say, well, Gerard, we want you to stay on as leader, will you stay on? Or have you had enough? Are you done?
Well, let's see how it goes. I've got 5 grueling more weeks of this, Let's see what the result is like, and I'll make a decision after that. But, I'm not getting younger. I'm 65. I could retire if I want to. And working 6 or 7 days a week isn't entirely what I envisage doing between the ages of 65 and 70.
What would you say to anybody, like a young person or even somebody my age?
A young lady?
Well, no, not me, because I'm a toughened old bag, but someone, you know, normal that wanted to go into politics, particularly on the right side of the equation, or a loyal British patriot that wanted to stand up for their country. What would you say?
Don't. I think you should only get, whenever people have political ambitions, they immediately should be barred from doing it. But I think you should only do it because you really feel compelled to do it in the way that I did this 27 years ago. You've got to do it because you really feel that you must do it because you believe in something, and be prepared for something that can be very unpleasant. Especially now, it's got like more and more unpleasant now. It wasn't like this when we started off.
Would you rather have your prostate checked or be leader of UKIP?
I had it done.
Which one's better?
Well, I don't get paid for either, but one costs... Yeah, they both cost me money, actually.
But you still haven't made a choice.
No.
If I offered you tomorrow, leader of UKIP or have your prostate checked, which would you choose?
You'd have to pay me a lot of money for one or the other for me to make a choice.
Gerard Batten, I appreciate your time.
That's all right. Thanks for interviewing me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
In an age of frippery, insta-fame and showmanship, you know what? Maybe a bit of boring Batten is exactly what Britain, if not Brexit, actually needs.